Hello and welcome to another episode of Journey with Us. I am Jason Abraham. Today I want to focus again on chapter 1 of Genesis, but this time I want to look at verses 3 to 25. I'm not going to read all those verses, but I want to pick up a few things from there and leave with us a thought for us to meditate and think about. These verses in chapter 1 of Genesis basically covers the 5 days of creation. Now in this there is a certain way it happens. Let me just read verse 3 for you. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening and there was morning the first day. So that's how it keeps going. The first day, the second day, the third day, the fourth day. So what we see here is God said it was so. Then there's an assessment that it is good. And then there is a time frame. There's a morning and an evening, and it's day 1. So what we see here is that God commands it, and it is. It happens exactly as he commands it. So what are the few things that you can see from this creation account of these 5 days? The first thing that I want to bring home is the design of the world, of this universe, is not accidental. This world as we see is not here by accident. It is based on the will of God. In other words, creation exists by the will of God. God is the one who gives permission for creation to be, because nothing can exist without God permitting it. In other words, God is a God of all creation. The whole universe, seen, visible and invisible. He is the Lord of all creation. So the first thing is that the creation that we see and what we cannot see, this whole universe is something which is designed to meet the purposes and goals that God have in mind. It is not an accident. It is not a result of something happening, over a period of time, or, it's not because of some big bang that happened, explosion happened and chaos, it's not that. It is something which God deliberately, in his will and good pleasure, brings it to existence, allows it to exist, permits it to exist, in his will, for his good pleasure, to fulfill his purposes. So the first thing we need to understand about creation, the universe that we exist, is that it's by no accident. It exists because it is based on the will of God. It exists because God permits it to exist, and which tells me that ultimately God is the boss, the Lord, the owner of this universe, not you and I. You and I are just people who are allowed to live on this universe. It is God's universe. And there is something more beautiful that is evident in this. I want to read verses 20 of chapter 1 of Genesis. It talks about the waters. He says, "Let the waters swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly about the earth across the expanse of the heavens." So he is talking about the creatures in the sea and the birds in the air, the fishes, the leviathan, the whales, the shark, the orcas, the beautiful birds, the kingfisher, the hummingbirds, that fills this universe, which makes it so beautiful. Humans often think that we are very special to God. Yes, indeed we are special to God. We are the paragon, the zenith of His creation. We will look at that in another episode. But I want you to know that God has a very special relationship with His creation. Because the first blessing that God blesses is for His creation. And that is what we read in verse 22. And God blessed them. Who? These birds of the air, the fish in the sea that He filled. He blessed them. The first blessing in the Bible is on birds and fishes and all those beautiful animals that you see around you. God blesses them. Be fruitful and multiply and fill the waters in the sea and let birds multiply on the earth. Can you imagine? What it tells me is that, even in the New Testament, you see, it's the Father who feeds them. Foxes have holes. Are not two sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them falls to the ground apart from the will of God in heaven. The creatures are faithful, valued, and obedient beings. And God values them, and He has a special relationship with them. So one of the first things that these verses, verse 3 to 25 of chapter 1 of Genesis, tells me something very important for us. One is that this universe, this creation, all that exists, it exists by God's design. It exists because He wills it. It exists because He permits it. And the second thing it is that all that you see in the world, the birds of the air and the fish and the animals, He has a special relationship with them. They are His faithful, valued, and obedient creatures. And He cares for them. He provides for them. He makes home for them. He gives them water and He feeds them in due season. He cares for them. What does it tell that to us who are allowed to live on this good earth? God wants us to be good stewards of His earth. If this earth belongs to the Lord, and if all the things that is in this world, has a special relationship with God, you and I ought to be very careful how we interact with our creation, how we interact with the beautiful animals and birds and fishes. Exploitation is not something which God intends. It's right there in the first chapter of the Bible. Why I bring this home is because there are a lot of people who are under the misunderstanding that the Bible's mandate for humankind to take care of the earth has led to the devastation and the ecological disaster of this universe. It is not so. Because God is involved. God values His creation. It exists for Him. It exists because He wills it. And if that be so, then we as His creatures, we as people who have been given the task of being good stewards of this beautiful universe and everything in it, we ought to be careful. We ought to be careful how we use it. We ought to be careful how we interact with it. There is a special place in the heart of God for this universe and for all that is. But the Bible says and tells me that all of these things, even as it is created for God, it is created for us to enjoy and to benefit. Hopefully this video has helped us in at least able to answer the question of those who claim that Christians have destroyed the earth. That no, we are the people who have been mandated to take care of the earth because God is the one who has bought it. God has a purpose for it, and God has a special relationship, and we as His people are to be good stewards. Thank you for watching, and if you have liked it, please share and subscribe. Till the next episode, I take your leave with the words, God bless you, and see you soon.